Not much is known about James Heller's early life, but at some point he'll join the military where he'll eventually become a sergeant. At some point, he'll marry a woman named Colette and will have a daughter named Amaya. However, Alex Mercer will cause a second outbreak. Upon returning home, he'll find his wife killed and Amaya will be presumed dead. Sailing off to New York Red Zone in hopes of finding and killing Mercer for his wife and daughter, but his transport will be attacked. After recovering, James will track down Mercer. After killing a broad with his knife, Mercer will be impressed by James' capabilities and will infect him with the Blacklight virus, where he'll be taken to Junk Tech. After escaping, he'll encounter Mercer, where Mercer will explain that he didn't kill Heller's wife and that he was framed by Blackwatch and Gen Tech. James will later seek out advice from a priest named Father Guerra, who knew James and his family, where Guerra will agree to help James, but it'll be around the same time where James will find out that it was Mercer who caused the Blacklight outbreak again, where he'll set off to find Sabrina Galway, the CFO of Gentech, and involve the Mercers, who would assist James in finding and consuming various targets. Guerra by now would discover that Gentech was creating a cure known as White Light. However, White Light was contaminated with Mercer's blood. James will locate the facility but would be attacked by Mercer, who would attempt to consume James but would be overpowered by James. Mercer would flee and would keep him busy with a Goliath, returning to Father Guerra but would find him killed by infected, but would be contacted by Dana Mercer, who would reveal that his daughter was still alive. James would find his daughter, but she would be taken by Sabrina Galway. He would track Mercer down, where he would consume the rest of Evolved, and after a prolonged fight, James would wear down Mercer's regeneration before finally consuming him, where he'll be able to absorb the rest of the outbreak before rescuing Dana and Maya. Not much is known about Cole's early life, but at some point he'll drop out of college mainly to piss off his parents, where he'll work as a bike messenger in Empire City. But one day, Cole will get a call from an unknown man who will pay him money to open a package. Upon opening it, it'll be revealed to be a ray sphere, which will cause a massive explosion, destroying several blocks in a 6-mile radius, and will take dozens of lives. However, Cole would pass off from his injuries. After recovering, Cole would work with his girlfriend Trish and his best friend Zeke to battle the local gangs of Empire City. But during this, Cole would encounter a man named Kessler, who would know a lot about him. Kessler would eventually kidnap Trish, where he would make Cole choose to save 6 doctors or Trish, but he would only have enough to save 6 doctors, knowing that they could save more lives. Cole would try to heal Trish, but her injuries would be too severe. In her final moments, she would tell him that she's proud of what he has done. Cole would later meet Kessler in the center of the blast zone, where he would do battle with Kessler. And after a prolonged fight, Cole would defeat Kessler. Before succumbing to his injuries, Kessler would transfer his memories into Cole, where it will be revealed that Kessler was Cole from a different timeline, is that he had traveled to the future to prepare him for an oncoming started calling himself the Beast. Months later, Cole would be contacted by a woman named Lucy Quo, where she revealed that she knew about Cole and his fight against the Beast. An associate named Sebastian Wolf wanted to meet him. As they are about to depart for Numeraries, the Beast will attack Empire City, and after a brief fight, despite being able to damage the Beast, Cole will be drained of his powers and left in the ocean. After recovering and reaching Numeraries, Cole will learn from Wolf that he can defeat the Beast by using the RFI, but can only be used after absorbing enough blast cores. Cole will work with Lucy Quo and Zeke and weaken the militia and find blast cores to absorb. After becoming strong enough to power his RFI, however, he would realize one major sacrifice. The RFI would not only cost him his life, but in exchange, it'll kill everyone with the conduit gene, but would cure the plague, and would take out the Beast in the process. Seeing that thousands of lives matter more than his own, Cole would stall the Beast until Zeke could repair the RFI, before finally doing battle with the Beast, and finally activating the RFI, putting an end to the Beast and the plague, but killing anyone with the conduit gene. Afterwards, Zeke would take Cole's body out to sea to bid his final farewell. Well, what's up? We're here for another Infamous vs. Prototype battle. This time to somewhat mirror Season 1 Alex Mercer vs. Delson Rowe. This time, the opposites, with James Heller take on good Cole MacGrath. Much like with Alex vs. Delson, both will be taken from their respective games, meaning James from Prototype 2 and good Cole by the end of Infamous 2. Right, not much to go over. Let's start by comparing these two physically. By the time of his battle with Mercer, James Heller stands at 6'4", weighing an unknown amount of pounds. Due to being infected with the Blacklight virus, his physical performance on the other hand will be greatly enhanced. Even before being enhanced, James is very strong. He landed several hits on Alex and killed a brawler with just his knife. He can tear apart tanks and helicopters with his bare hands and overpower Alex Mercer after absorbing a group of infected. And Mercer at this point is capable of casually tossing most of a tank with a single hand. He can damage and kill large infected such as Goliath and other various evolved. Speed-wise, James can redirect rockets and can match Alex Mercer after absorbing a group of infected, and can react and counter other infected. Durability, James has taken hits from infected. He tanked a point-blank explosion as well as hits from Mercer, but his regeneration does have its limits. With the right amount of damage, James' regen will begin to weaken, but this can only be done after inflicting a constant amount of catastrophic damage. By the end of Infamous 2, Cole will be a 27-year-old man staying at 6 foot. After activating the Race Sphere, Cole's capabilities will be enhanced. He can lift debris for an extended amount of time. He can hold open the mouth of a devourer. Even before Infamous 2, he overpowered Kessler, who's an older and more experienced version of himself, who casually managed to overpower Cole after he had gotten stronger. Speed-wise, Cole can redirect rockets and react to other conduits. Durability-wise, Cole, while still human, is extremely tough. He can take gunfire from high-caliber weapons, tanked attacks from conduits such as Kessler, ice soldiers, and survived being in the grip of the beast and left in the ocean. He seemed unfazed after taking point-blank mortar rounds, as well as point-blank explosions from rockets. However, with the right amount of damage, Cole can and will go down. He has his favorite clear cut. For starters, as far as strength is concerned, James is easily stronger, overpowering Alex, who can casually toss most of a tank. Even when lowballed, Cole really can't compete with James. His best strength feat is him holding open the mouth of a devourer, but at the end of the day, James is simply better. Speed is one where they have showings that won't put one over the other. Both can redirect rockets and have reacted to opponents who should be above them physically. Durability is not even a contest. James' regen is simply far more impressive than Cole's healing, capable of replacing limbs, healing him from point-blank explosions, and severe injuries. So I give James the unquestionable edge in physical capabilities. And while here, I'll also be giving Cole the edge in weapons by default, since James doesn't carry any weapons. After being infected with the Blacklight virus, James was given a plethora of abilities. His claws allow him to take down opponents in a single slash. His blade arm is a faster version of his claws, but is capable of damaging larger infected. His hammer fists are two spiked fists capable of destroying tanks and can set off spikes once slammed into the ground. His whip fist is exactly as it sounds, capable of being used like a scorpion spear to take out multiple enemies at once, or can pull enemies to him. His tendrils can be used as appendages. His shields create two spiked shields to block attacks. He can summon a few brawlers that can attack for him and can explode. He can send out tendrils in all directions. And finally, he can consume his opponents to restore his biomass and to take their appearance, but his opponent must be weakened down first. After activating the Race Sphere, Cole gains the power of electrokinesis and electromagnetism. He can fire off various bolts of electricity, grenades which can range from normal grenades to sticky grenades, or grenades that will break into small cluster grenades. He can fire off various rockets, from normal rockets, redirect rockets, to rockets that will break into small rockets that can hone in onto opponents. His Alpha Blast can push back his opponents. Electromagnetism allows him to lift and throw objects like Magneto. Precision allows him to slow down his perception of time to fire out powerful bolts of lightning. His stacked thrusters allow him to glide through the air. He can fire a tether to grapple up to high ledges. He can drain electricity from power sources or from humans to heal himself and to restore his electric supply. He can restrain his targets. His radar pulse can detect electric sources, however it can also detect differences in humans, being able to detect certain viruses in people. After using the power transfer device on Lucy Quo, Cole gains the power of cryokinesis, allowing him to jump off an ice construct, fire off ice grenades and rockets. His cryo shield can block projectiles that can restore his energy supply. Shatter Blast sends out shards of ice. He has up to 3 ionic attacks. Ionic Vortex creates a vortex that sucks up all opponents in its range. Ionic Freeze freezes all opponents in its path. And Ionic Storm calls down powerful bolts of lightning. Well, if it's another case of quality versus quantity. Now, between the two, of course Cole has more firepower, no question there. James' powers are more suited for close range engagements, while Cole specializes in range. Yes, James can easily one-shot Cole if he gets that one hit in he needs, but the majority of his powers are only useful at close range. So that leaves his brawlers, which would only be used to distract Cole, but his whip fist can easily be dodged by an ice jump or a lightning tether. And his shields would be a problem for Cole, but something tells me that a barrage of rockets, if not Ionic Storm, would be able to get past that as if his defense wasn't even there. So that leaves his second option, Stealth. And unfortunately, that's basically going to be useless. Since John White enhanced Cole's radar pulse, Cole can detect viruses in people. And before anyone brings it up, no, I don't think that the black light virus is weak to electricity. Much like Rain92, I share Sir Topic's gamers' take on this. Electricity can hurt the blacklight virus, but it's not a critical weakness. At the end of the day, Cole simply has better options, from various bolts to rockets, grenades, and ice attacks. So I give Cole the edge in special abilities. Due to consuming hierarchy in Blackwatch soldiers, it can be assumed that James will be a master tactician in military tactics. As an overall tactician, James tends to be a calm strategist, being able to recognize patterns in an opponent's fighting style, such as how he was able to counter and weaken Alex Mercer after he had consumed a group of infected. However, when he gets angry, he tends to throw his strategic approach aside and focus on ripping apart anyone who pissed him off. By the time of his battle against the Beast, Cole will become accustomed to his conduit abilities, though he may not be skilled in any particular way since obtaining the amp. As tactician, Cole tends to stay on the defense to get a proper feel of his opponent's fighting style, while experimenting with various powers before finding weakness and spamming that weakness until his opponent goes down, and getting into better advantageous positions to get a proper hit on his opponents. As overall combatants, both James and Cole may have a similar mindset, however, they couldn't be any different. James may have a good amount of experience of fighting evolved infected, but it's the wrong approach to take on someone like Cole. Though, to throw James a bone, he is better at close range basically by default, due to the amount of Blackwatch soldiers he has consumed, making him a master tactician. Cole, on the other hand, will have better experience with his conduit abilities, since he had his abilities for well over a month now. James is by no means a bad fighter. He would be able to pressure Cole, don't get me wrong, but James is unfortunately brings the wrong experience to the table. Cole has fought various conduits, mutants, and monsters. As tacticians, though they may be similar, I slightly favor Cole more. Cole may not be able to exploit James' anger other than being complicated to fight. The major difference between the two is that Cole fights smarter, not harder. Now, to simplify this, Cole is a ranged combatant, while James is specifically a close range combatant. Not to mention, James' main experience comes from opponents who have the same powers as him, while Cole fought conduits with different powers who either have more firepower or more destructive power. So I give Cole the very, very slight edge in combat skills and tactics. Let's just say this takes place before the end of Prototype 2 while searching for Mercer. But before John leaves for Numerase, he first visits New York, who proposes a deal to James. If he can travel to Numerase and defeat Cole to prove he's a better host for the Beast. Seeing this as an opportunity to defeat Mercer, he agrees and sets off to Numerase, while John waits outside Numerase waiting for Cole's fight to finish. James tears through various mules and Night Soldiers, working out some anger. Meanwhile, Cole drops from the roof, having heard of James and his rampage, just as he crushes the head of a crusher with his hammer fist. So I'll take it you're MacGrath. Depends on who's asking. You've put on quite a show. What's that? Nah, I just need to draw you out. Without warning, James switches to claws and slashes at Cole, who manages to backflip out of the way before firing off rapid bolts of electricity. James forms his shields to deflect the bolts sent his way. The conduit fires off rockets, however James had anticipated something like this, but allows his shields to take damage. Before redirecting the final one back at Cole, the conduit jumps off an ice construct as it grabs onto a street lamp. Just as James switches his whip fist, the conduit tosses a grenade that sticks to James before jumping off as the grenade explodes, blowing off a good chunk of his side. But nothing Zed's regeneration can't handle, as James forms his blade arm, while Cole draws the amp, allowing electricity to flow through it. The prototype lunges at the conduit, who parries James' strike, but the sergeant takes the opening to deliver a kick to Cole's midsection, sending him flying to cart, denting it and breaking a few ribs. James leaps up, ready to bisect the conduit, but at the last moment, Cole rolls out the way before tossing an ice grenade, freezing James' legs before drains the electricity from the street lamp to heal himself. The sergeant forms his hammer fist and smashes part of his frozen legs before forming his tendrils to grab a group of mutants to consume in order to regenerate his legs. But now more annoyed, using his electrokinesis, Cole tosses a cart James' way. As if on cue, James jumps over it, but not able to dodge the rocket sent his way, which blows open his upper body. Seeing that this situation calls for backup, James summons his brawlers. The conduit and face Ionic Storm that takes out most of the brawlers. However, the two remaining brawlers attempt to flank Cole, who backsteps out of the way, but James, seeing his chance, leaps up with his blade arm. At the last possible moment, Cole side rolls before firing his ice rocket, before shattering his arm with his amp, and kicking off James as he tosses a cluster of grenades, blowing off chunks of his torso and his side. But allowing himself to regenerate, now having a decent grasp of his opponent's abilities, James smashes his fist into the ground, sending off his tendrils in all directions. Cole is forced to jump off an ice construct, but jumps onto a cable car wire and grinds at high speeds. Giving chase, the sergeant switches to his whip fist, narrowly missing the conduit before he jumps off and uses a tether to grapple up to a building. But it's met by an ice rocket which freezes Heller's arm. Forming his blade, James severs off his limb before forming his shields. But this is what Cole wanted him to do. The conduit calls down Ionic Storm, stunning James before jumping over the sergeant and unleashes powerful combos on James with the amp before kicking off of him and unleashing several cluster grenades that covers James, who only gets in a few steps as they detonate, leaving James with both his arms blown off and many parts of his body riddled with holes. To Cole's surprise, James stumbles to his feet, but now regenerating at a fraction of his original healing rate. However, Cole won't have much time to react as two brawlers jump onto the roof. The conduit flips out of the way, just time to dodge a swipe from one, and counters with a few sticky grenades that blows off half the brawler's head. However, the last brawler is consumed as James regenerates, forming his blade. He doesn't give Cole any time to react, but this time Cole goes to fire a rocket, but unexpectedly, James jumps over the conduit and in a single swing cleaves Cole in half before leaving to meet up with John White. And with that, I declare James Heller, the Blacklight Alpha, the winner. Well, unlike the past few matches I've done, this one honestly was a tricky one. Now, at first I was expecting Cole to win with only mid to high difficulty, but after replaying Infamous 1 and 2 and realizing what Cole can do, Cole deserves more credit even before the start of Infamous 2. His feat of harming the beast is something that shouldn't be brushed over. Cole not just harming the beast, but surviving the beast is an impressive feat on its own. Sure, John may not be as strong as Cole when he became the beast, but just keep in mind, Cole damaged the beast before he became stronger. However, what one needs to bear in mind is the opponent can end the fight in just one well-placed hit. You need to do the same, but fast. In this case, I favor James about 7 out of 10 times. Cole can hurt James, but when your opponent can regenerate whole limbs, you need to keep that damage going and not give them time to recover. Now, to throw my man Cole a bone, if this was Beast Cole, I could see Cole winning since that version has several trump cards that could one-shot James. But when all is said and done, I slightly favor James because eventually he can and will get that one hit he needs to take out the conduit. And if at any point Cole just so happens to run out of juice, it's GG, since it would basically be a similar position to why Delson would lose against Alex Mercer. Cole would have to stop everything he's doing and recharge, which is a very, very dangerous move considering who his opponent is. However, at the end of the day, you really have to give Cole the benefit of the doubt that he can deliver a constant amount of damage that would override James' regen. He may be a smart fighter, but so is James, and unlike Mercer, he isn't going to just sit there and let Cole fire rockets and grenades. Once he has a proper grasp of his powers, he's going to capitalize on the fact that Cole is a ranged fighter and will do everything in his power to make it a physical fight. The only reason why Cole got the edge in combat abilities is due to the fact that his experience would better prepare him for James. Now that's not taking anything away from James. James has fought many of Evolved, which would also better prepare him for someone like Cole. But the only flaw is that those were specifically close range fights, while Cole by the end of Infamous 2 would have well over a month of experience with his powers. But that does vary if you take the comics into account. But this is just my opinion, and depending on how he skills these two and what skilling you actually buy, I could see this going either way. It all matters who gets in that one hit they need to end the fight. But with that said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter if you care about that. Be sure to follow the fellow content creators, Ray932, 3Talks Gamer, and Key Cameron, as well as a newcomer to the Verse series, Spider Dante. Links will be in the description, and I'll see y'all next time.
So, you're looking for the Book of Ancient Legends. The tale of the demon warrior Sparda.
That's not what I'm looking for. Leave me.
Then what are you looking for? A demon that impregnates a woman who then bears twin sons. That's the story, isn't it?
Leave me. I won't tell you a third time.
People inherently fear evil. However, occasionally, a person may become seduced by evil.
What are you getting at?
Share with me the story of Sparda.
For Royal Protocol. Not like you had to deliver a formal address.
Your Highness!
What now?
I fear I have left too much unsaid. You place a great burden on those who would bear with you.
You're one to talk.
I ask not that you guide my wayward son, merely that you remain at his side.
Indeed, Your Grace.
We'll see the Prince to Alticia if it's the last thing we see.
Yeah, what he said. Hate to break this up, but Kor's got the motor running. Stratos, he's in your hands.
And another thing. Do mind your manners around your charming bride-to-be.
Your Majesty as well. Try to mind yours around our esteemed guests from Niflheim.
You have no cause for concern.
Nor do you.
Take heed. Once you set forth, you cannot turn back.
You think I would?
I need only know that you are ready to leave home behind.
Don't know about you, but I'm ready as I'll ever be.
I'm tired of running and wrestling.